Hello and welcome to another episode of Speak, Film, and Enter, a podcast where we review and rank movies. I'm Nate.
And I'm Dylan.
And I'm Adam.
And today, for the people watching on YouTube, we have our very first monthly roundup, which we started doing over a year ago. And for those of you who have been with us the whole time on the podcast, you know what to expect here. Yep. But quick little overview of what we're going to be doing here for the people who are new to the show. We're going to run through 4 different categories: best new watch, best rewatch, dud of the month, and then anything miscellaneous that maybe doesn't fit into any of those categories for us. We do this because while we like to review a lot of new movies, we also watch a bunch of other stuff over the course of the month, and we wanted to have some space to talk about those movies, whether, you know, we watched an old classic for the first time and wanted to share our thoughts, but we don't want to do episodes on all of these due to, you know, space and cost and just time.
Yep.
It's a good way here to just kind of bring these all to the table, say what you liked, what you didn't like, the highlights of the past month of movie watching for each of the 3 of us, and just kind of share what we got, and then move on and do it again the next month.
Yeah. And before we get too far into that, I just want to say, like and subscribe us on YouTube, Facebook, all your social medias. Feel free to ding the bell so you get updated and get notifications of when our new episodes come out. So back to you.
Nice. Yeah, I was just going to say it's nice that it provides us a kind of the different categories provide a space, almost encourage me to watch, like a reason to watch certain movies during the month that I wouldn't like. If I get to the end of the month and I haven't rewatched anything, then I'm like, oh, well, I should take the time and rewatch this. Or like, you know, if it's something that I normally wouldn't like, I'll give it a shot, because worst case scenario, that's the dud of the month for me. And I can just talk about, you know, it'll be funny. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It gives me a reason to watch certain movies sometimes.
That's a good point, because
how many times am I like, I'm not in the mood for this, I'm too sleepy, or I don't want a sad movie, I want an action movie. It's like, well, that one's out there. I told myself I was going to watch it. Time to put it down.
Yeah, I like your point there, Dylan, where it does kind of give me reason to be a little braver in what I watch. You know, just don't settle for something I know I'm going to like, and be a little more open to, because if I hate it, then I can bring it up here and tell you guys about it.
Yeah, and it wasn't truly a waste of time. Even
exactly.
Yeah.
Even who doesn't love to hate watch a movie?
Right. Speaking of hate watching a movie, I got one for you guys later that I think falls into that category. But we'll get there.
Well, should we just launch into it then? Start off with our best new watch.
Yeah, best new watch of the month. Why don't you start, Nate? We'll just go in order.
Sure.
Nate.
Yeah. So, I like to, again, if you're new, I will mention things here that we've reviewed if it does fit into this category, but I'm not going to spend any time talking about it. So like The Outfit and The Batman, I give 4 stars to both of those movies. I think they're really good. We do have reviews for both of those, so you should go check that out. And you can hear our full thoughts on those. So I won't waste any more time on those here, because this is for movies that we don't review. Give them a little bit of their own space. Other than that, I've got 2.
Okay.
And one of them I had never heard of until about a week ago, and the other one I've had on my Vudu account since literally the day it was created. I share a Vudu account with my brother, and when he created one, they gave a list of like a few movies, and you could pick like 4 of them for free as like a thank you for signing up. And that movie is Matchstick Men.
Oh yeah. Okay.
With Nicolas Cage, and we have a very special Nicolas Cage episode planned for later in April to coincide with the release of the what is that movie called again? The Overbearing Weight of
Incredible Talent.
Yeah, something like that. But Matchstick Men, I've had it on there for like 8 years, and for whatever reason, maybe it's the cover, it just always looked like, I don't know, boring and predictable. I didn't even know what it was about, but it's just, I think we've all got those movies where I'm just like, I'm not going to like that for no real reason.
Yep.
Have you guys seen this?
No, I haven't. This definitely fits into that category for me though, too. I've had chances to watch it, and I just always am like,
have you heard of it?
I have heard of it.
You guys know what it's about?
I saw it a long time ago, so I'd have to rewatch it before I truly remember it. But
it's basically 2 con artists played by Nicolas Cage and Sam Rockwell,
Ooh, okay.
kind of doing their thing. in modern day life.
Mhm.
Nicolas Cage has some phobias and some OCD issues, so he's kind of got to have everything like set right, which is sort of a weird thing for a con artist to go into a world that's very like unpredictable, seemingly.
Yeah,
But he's
little
kind of
bit,
got
yeah.
everything mapped
Figured out.
out and very under control. And then his life gets thrown out of balance when his 14-year-old daughter shows up that he did not know he had,
Oh, interesting.
played
Okay.
by Alison Lohman.
Okay. Don't recognize the
And
name.
this movie is just a blast. It's got a great ending. Nicolas Cage is fantastic. And I just really liked it. It was very surprising to me. I had it already, so I just was like, all right, I need to watch some more of these Nick Cage movies.
Mhm.
And I like this way more than I was expecting to. I will absolutely be watching it again at some point, especially because, the type of movie with like cons and that kind of stuff where it's fun to go back. Even something like The Outfit, where it like kind of once you know how it ends, it's fun to go back and see if you could pick up if there were any good clues that you just missed the first time you watched it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I did
Okay.
give that a
Fun.
3.5. I think
Okay.
it would be a 4, but there's something kind of done or like a sort of revelation about his mental illness issues that I didn't think was handled very well, which just
Okay.
kind of dropped it about half a star, but very fun, very entertaining movie.
It's a
And
Ridley
then-
Scott movie.
It is,
That's
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't know that
that's
before
interesting.
too, but then going into it this week when I was just like, oh, I should watch this. I was like, well, at least Ridley Scott made it. So like, it
Yeah.
probably won't suck.
Like it's going to be
Mhm.
good quality at least. So
Right.
Yep.
And then
Well,
this next one,
was House of Gucci good quality?
I mean,
That's
it was made well. It just sucked.
Was it? Was it though? Anyways, let's move on.
yeah. The other movie that I watched this month is currently streaming on HBO Max, and it is a high school movie from Ireland called Dating Amber from 2020.
Oh, I saw this on streaming. Yeah.
Yeah, and Eddie and Amber are both gay, and it takes place in the 1990s.
Okay.
Eddie and Amber are both gay, and they both get mocked endlessly for it. Neither of them have actually come out. They're just assumed by their peers to be gay. So they decide to pretend to be a couple so that everybody will just leave them alone.
Classic beard scenario.
And then, and then Eddie's also trying to get into the military academy because his dad is in the military and he's kind of trying to prove his manliness that way.
Okay.
And it just kind of, we just see how they handle everything. And it's just a really good, smart movie about like self-acceptance. If you like high school movies, it's definitely on the smarter side, in my opinion. And any high school, it doesn't rely on those types of like outlandish set pieces that some high school comedies might. Like, it's not super bad. It's not trying to create these like crazy, implausible scenarios that are hilarious, but would like never really happen to you. It's much more along the lines of, in terms of realism, of something like Lady Bird, where it's just kind of like, this is how life is and this is what's happening. That's not to say it's not funny and heartwarming at times, because it very much is, mostly because of the performances of the two leads, which are fantastic.
Okay. Who are the two leads?
They are,
I've got it up if you need.
now you're going to make me pronounce like Welsh names.
They're Irish.
That's exactly why I asked.
Welsh or Irish. Finn O'Shea. His name's Fionn. No idea how to pronounce that.
Okay.
And then Lola Pettigrew.
Oh, Petty Crew?
Yep.
Yeah. Which is just a wonderfully
Petticrew.
British name, or
British.
Irish name, or whatever it is. But and then Sharon Horgan is also in it. She plays the mom. And if you've seen like a Catastrophe on Amazon Prime, or she's also in Game Night. She's been in a few things. You probably recognize her face.
Okay.
But I gave that one a 3.5 as well. Just a very smart and charming high school movie.
Oh man, so two 3.5s were as high as any movie got besides Batman and The Outfit.
For new watches, yeah, I think
Okay.
it was. I've been going through a lot of. We've all talked about this before, right? Where like you have a stretch of 3 weeks where you're giving everything like a 3.5 to like a 4.5 or a 5, and you start to think like, am I just getting like really too easy with my scores here? But then no, you need to wait for a month where you watch like some 1.5s and some 2s and just like a parade of 3s to remind yourself to just appreciate the good stuff when you find it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's funny you mentioned Sharon Horgan because she's actually in The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which is that new Nicolas Cage movie coming out.
Nice.
So fun little connection there.
The
Awesome.
Nicolas
I also
Cage
had a-
movie to end all Nicolas Cage movies.
Yeah.
Hopefully
I had
not.
a lot
but-
of rewatches in the past month too, so that's a lot of where I spent my
Okay.
time.
Okay. Nice. All right. On to me then.
Mhm.
Yep.
All right. So my first best new watch was very easy. I watched this at the beginning of the month and it was an automatic 5 stars. Nothing better than when a movie lives up to all the hype, and that is Almost Famous, the classic rock and roll movie from 2000, year 2000. Oops, I accidentally clicked on an ad. Written and directed by Cameron Crowe, starring Billy Crudup, Patrick Fugit.
I'm not sure.
Kate Hudson, and a bunch of other people. Frances McDormand, Jason Lee, Zooey Deschanel, Anna Paquin. I mean, come on. And honestly, yeah, Philip Seymour Hoffman. And honestly,
you can't forget him.
yeah, I don't even really know where to start. It's just so good from start to finish. Like it's definitely the best rock and roll movie I've ever seen. And it totally just puts you like right there. It gives you like all the emotions, the ups and downs. The characters are so well written, and they all kind of have, like you've mentioned on this podcast before, Nate, they all have their own story arcs, and they all like intertwine and kind of reach their end point at the same time. It's just perfect. It's just so well done. There's so many great scenes, and obviously the music, like the use of certain songs is like perfect. Tiny Dancer and Tangerine come to mind, but there's so many more. I just thought it was fantastic, and I had a great time. It flew by, and I don't know how anybody could watch this and not have a good time, at least.
Also, to add to the great music choices, an improvised scene that's like 30 seconds long to Cat Stevens' The Wind.
Oh, yeah.
Is possibly my favorite movie scene of all time. And it was just filmed. It's just Kate Hudson on where it's not the stage. It's she's just on the floor.
Like the hardwood, like a high school, like hardwood floor.
Yeah. Just by herself after a concert. And I guess like rumor has it, she was just like dancing and like messing around while she was waiting for them to be ready to film the next scene. And they just filmed her doing that and then put it to Cat Stevens' The Wind. And it just so perfectly captures like the feeling of the movie and like how much everybody there just lives music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
in the moment, everything is in the moment.
Absolutely. It's just beautiful. And yeah, I like that you mentioned like it's got 3 complete character arcs.
Yeah.
Which a lot of movies don't even have one.
And the ending is so perfect. There's a twist at the end that you don't see coming, and then once it happens, you're like, this makes total sense. Like every single thing fits together, and I love that they capture kind of the bittersweet. The whole thing is so bittersweet because you know that this dream for them and this rock and roll lifestyle isn't going to last, and it's just going to be ground down into nothing by corporate America, which is exactly what Philip Seymour Hoffman says is going to happen.
What do you warn us about?
He has so many great lines in this movie. It's insane. Like half the things he says are just like nailing like culture. They should be on t-shirts. Like seriously.
Yeah. Like the only real currency in this world is what we share with someone else when we're uncool.
Oh,
like that is just amazing. And there's so many amazing scenes, like the I Am a Golden God, the bus scene, the airplane.
The airplane scene is legendary. Like I was dying, and it just gets so much done. Like it just fits with rock and roll so well. Like
it's fantastic.
I was pretty much blown away.
And Kate Hudson honestly gives one of like my 5 favorite performances ever in a movie in this thing.
I can see she 100% lived up to the hype. And I know it's weird. Like I've seen her in other things and not this, which is like her defining role. But right away I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Like she's like perfect for this role.
Yeah, I just remember seeing the cover of this on like the Blockbuster shelves back in the day.
Me too.
Like, oh, okay, I'll have to get that, or I'll have to see it. And my parents were like, "You're not old enough for that." I was like, "Okay," and I just never saw it. But I remember the poster.
Yeah,
very
one of the all-time movie posters.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just iconic, and Dylan made me so happy when you told me you finally watched this and just loved this movie. There was one week. I watched it 3 days in a row once.
I can see why.
After I'd already seen it like 3 times.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be down to rewatch it anytime. And also, I mean, it doesn't really show up on like TV and stuff, but this is a movie where if I went over to someone's house and they were halfway through it, I'd gladly sit through the end or whatever, any little part of it that I can see. So it's pretty rare that a movie goes straight to 5 stars right away for me, but this one was just undeniable.
Just too perfect.
Just too perfect. And then the next one for my best new watches is another one that you actually recommended to me, Nate, and I finally got to this week. That is 1956, The Killing by Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah. I was also glad that you watched that one just because it seems so up your alley.
Oh my God. Totally. Yeah, totally. I can see why. And it's crazy because it's a heist movie, and it's just so ahead of its time in like every way as far as like heist movies go, and setting up like the different moving pieces and like all of like the classic stuff is there, but you can tell that it's just done with so much more style, and it's just so much more well thought out by a young Stanley Kubrick than it had been done before. And even just while I was watching it, it just felt like, oh yeah, like this inspired this scene from this movie, and like this, like it's all right there. And just I loved the way they put it all together, builds to a big climax, and then I'm not going to give it away, but the ending, oh my God, loved the very end. So yeah, just great performances. Not maybe a lot of names that you would recognize, but Sterling Hayden as the leader of the heist crew has so many just great lines, and just
he's the police chief in The Godfather.
He's the police chief in The Godfather, and he's General who goes crazy in The Killing, or Dr. Strangelove.
Yep, Brigadier General Jack D. Ripper.
Yeah.
Yes, Jack. Yes, exactly.
Can't keep his arm down, if I recall.
That's
it's the one who he keeps talking about fluids.
Yes,
the fluoride.
Yes,
the fluoride.
My apologies, I had the wrong guy. I said it, and then was.
In this movie, when he's trying to convince a guy to help him by shooting a horse, and he's like, even if you get caught, it's not murder. You killed a horse. I don't know what they call it. Like, just like, a lot of like great lines.
Yeah.
So I had a really good time. Solid 4 stars for me. I just couldn't. The whole time I was like, I can't believe this is from 1956. Like, this seems like it would be like mid 60s, like to keep pace with where other movies were. And no, this is the 50s. So I know you've recommended it, and you were totally right. Really, really fun movie. And then last one, I'm not even going to go into it because I plan on rewatching it and then talking about it extensively in next month's roundup under best rewatch. But I got to another David Lynch movie this month. That was 1986's Blue Velvet. And
I saw you watch this. Yeah.
I'm not going to dive too deep into it because, again, I need the second viewing to truly pick up on all the brilliance. But like, oh my God, like David Lynch movies. I mean, it
sounds like you're turning into a hardcore David Lynch fan.
Which is funny because I started with Eraserhead and I was very underwhelmed and thought it was way too weird. Don't like David Eraserhead.
Lynch for you going to be like Kubrick for me?
Maybe that very well could be. The interesting thing about this movie, I'll just touch on before I keep going here, is that I feel like it's the most accessible David Lynch movie that I've seen yet. Right. Okay. Like Eraserhead is super weird. And we watched Mulholland Drive last year. We both really liked it. But I mean, that's a mind bending, like hyper detailed, every little thing means something else. So this is very kind of a straightforward, like almost noir, like local kid kind of gets wrapped up in a murder mystery and kind of plays detective for a while. And you got Laura Dern as like the teenage love interest. And then you've got Dennis Hopper as like a straight, crazy, evil villain. And there really isn't a lot of mind-bending stuff going on. It's just very straightforward. And it's just very David Lynch, like finely crafted, where you feel like everything you're seeing was planned out to the very minute detail. There's no filler scenes or filler lines or like most movies where it's like, oh, I got to go take the trash out, but I'm not going to miss anything. I'll be right back. Like you have to actually pay attention. And I was really enthralled from the very beginning. Also, Kyle MacLachlan, I think, who plays the lead in Twin Peaks. He's the lead in this.
Oh, yeah.
I really liked him. Not quite willing to go down the Twin Peaks road quite yet, but I did really like him.
The original Paul Atreides as well.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, so I will be talking about this movie again. Definitely will require a second viewing, but yeah, really good, really good. I can see why it's like a kind of a cult classic, kind of
All
has a
right.
fan base.
I think it's
So
on streaming somewhere too. I feel like I need to check it out.
I think you should check it out. I want to maybe say it's on Hulu or HBO Max, one of
I
those.
think it's on Hulu.
Yeah, 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 worth checking out, and then we can talk about it next month.
Yeah.
All right, Adam, on to you.
Yeah. So I only have one for you guys for best new watch. And it's actually going back to a episode we did. I want to say at the beginning of this month or late February. It's the Batman Under the Red Hood.
Oh, okay. I still haven't seen this one.
Yeah. So while we were doing some of that list, I got to this a little bit later than that episode allowed. But I was
Okay.
still on kind of a Batman kick.
Mhm.
I gave this a 3.5, but I really enjoyed how much darker it was because it's Under the Red Hood is the villain, and there's a lot of death and punishment and truly like brutal scenes. It takes Batman all the way to the edge of his ability to want to kill while
Okay.
toying with that a lot.
Yeah.
Red Hood ends up being Jason Todd, which is Robin. The movie starts out with Joker
Whoa.
beating Robin to death, and it's a pretty hardcore scene. And then the movie moves on from there.
Spit take there.
Yeah,
Beating
I think
Robin to death.
beating Robin to death. I
Jesus.
think what
Spoilers
slows
here.
what slows the movie down, or what keeps it from being more than a 3.5, is that it just kind of drops you into that scene. There's no build up or anything. That's just the opening scene. So I don't know if there's a series in which you're supposed to watch a couple of the movies together and that all makes sense, or if it's part of the actual like animated series, if it fits into that, or if it's just kind of a one-off. I didn't do a ton of research on that, Nate. I know you were a little bit deeper in that than I was, but
yeah, it definitely feels like it's like an extension of something that you haven't seen.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Mask of the Phantasm is straight from the 90s animated series, but it does a better job, I think, of like self-containing itself.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Under the Hood is actually connected to anything else or not, or if they're just kind of like, everybody knows who Batman and Robin are, so what do we need to have a first act for?
Yeah. So I didn't do too much research or background onto that, but it is the shocking way that like Batman's confronted right away with like death. And I know there's another Batman called Death in the Family, which I believe is also about Robin dying, or it's about the other pseudo Robin character. I can't remember his name right now. Nightwing.
Harry something.
I'm thinking Nightwing,
Yeah.
but somebody else dying. So it's an interesting, like, we haven't seen a Batman hero character like die before, and then what the repercussions of that are. And eventually, Joker gets brought in because like all Batman movies, Joker is a part of the equation. It's a good character study on like how Batman is so rigid to his rules. At one point, Robin, or Jason Todd, Red Hood, asks Batman, "Why didn't you kill Joker after he killed me?" And he's like, "I knew that if I did it, there's no going back." And it's like Batman will still hold on to the ideals even in the face of like immense adversity. His family members are killed. I would think the same thing if like Alfred were to die, right? I just really liked it. It was a lot darker than I was expecting it to be, especially that opening scene being what it was. It didn't exactly match, Mask of the Phantasm or any of the other Batmans we really saw. I know you guys really love the early stuff that's a little, jokier, campier, and all that stuff. And this is just a hard animation of like, there's death, there's a lot of problems, and it's not easily solved. So that's really the best new watch I had. I watched actually a lot more than I normally do in the months, but the Batman kick got me. It was that and the Batman we saw. So.
Yep.
All right. Let's move on to best rewatches.
Yeah.
I've got 3.
Okay.
2 4 stars and 1 that moved itself up to a 5.
Ooh, that's exciting.
Which does not happen that often, so very exciting. The first one I'll mention is Miller's Crossing.
God damn it.
An early Coen Brothers movie about like Prohibition era Irish mobsters. And the first time I saw it, I didn't love it. It's got a lot of like, I mean, even more than most of their movies, like symbolism and metaphor and kind of like 6 meanings for every movement on screen, you know, and it's also got a plot that's like really hard to follow as you kind of follow this main character like into the weeds. It's really hard to tell like whose side he's always on, if he's being honest in a given moment, or like who he's playing against who, or if he's, you know, like it's just very hard to keep up with. And I watched it for the first time probably like 6 or 7 years ago, and it was definitely lower on my Coen Brothers lists. It just did not feel accessible to me. I rewatched it this past month because Criterion just released their own edition for it. So it kind of been making the waves around like, you know, movie internet. And just enough people bringing it up where I was just like, I really need to watch this movie again. And it's really good. I gave it a 4. It's not my favorite Coen Brothers movie, but the fact that for me, it's like around like 8 or 9 just shows how amazing they are, because this is a really good movie and I don't have it in their top 5.
The reason I swore when you said that is because this has been at the top of my like need to watch list forever, basically probably right behind Almost Famous. So I've been meaning to get to this. So when you brought it up, I was like, this was the month, then we could have both geeked out about it. God.
I know.
All right.
And it is interesting because I see a lot of like die-hard Coen Brothers fans have this like in their top 3.
Okay.
So I don't know. Maybe it's just like slightly different tastes for me, but really good movie. Definitely recommend it, but it is a little bit more work than your average gangster movie.
Okay.
Not as much like, I mean, it's there, you know, there's some guns and stuff, but not as much as you'd think. It's much more of a kind of like mobster noir almost.
It's more than just guns and stuff.
Yes, more than guns and stuff.
Okay, good.
Great way to put it.
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to be like, it's a muted take on what it means, the disenfranchisement of like, just go off into something like super artsy or something. But
no, I'll save that for later. Next one I've got is I rewatched Lilo and Stitch.
Ah, yes.
And
fantastic movie.
This was lower on my Disney list than it should have been. I hadn't watched this movie. I think I saw it like one time when it came out and wasn't really my thing. I kind of had it in like that 2.5 to 3 star range forever. You know, like 11-year-old me, just 2.5 out of 5.
Yeah.
But it's just so much more mature than like most Disney animated movies and like most animated movies I've seen. I think Lilo is one of their best characters ever. She's so funny and just like angry, and she doesn't follow the rules, but like she doesn't have parents, and she's like, her sister's raising her. She's mean to her sister because she's just acting out, and she's like 8 or something and like has no friends, and she's weird. The touch to make her a really big Elvis fan just adds for some great comedy. It's just kind of a weird take on like E.T., and it works really, really well. And I've definitely got it in like my top probably 15 to 20, probably around like 15 for Disney animated movies now. Like I got it up to 4 stars for sure. It's really, really good. If this was something that you watched a long time ago and maybe when you were younger and didn't love, I would highly recommend rewatching this as an adult.
I remember the spin-off series they did on Disney Channel with all of the other experiments.
Interesting.
When like Captain Gantu and all them are still there, and they just go around trying to collect all the other experiments because he's 626, so they go like all the way down, and it's obviously sporadic ones, but they just invent powers for characters and make episodes out of it. I was really big into Lilo and Stitch back in the day for all of that. So I'm glad you watched this. That's great.
I don't remember a single thing about the movie, but I watched it. I watched it at a family event at some point, and I remember liking it more than I thought I was gonna. Like, I don't remember anything about the movie, but I remember the thought going through my head that, you know what, that was actually pretty dang good. And then I just moved on with my life and never thought about it again until this exact moment. Did
your aunt who loves The Big Lebowski make you watch Lilo and Stitch?
Oh, no, I think it was... No, I don't think so. She probably wanted to watch Big Lebowski and got outvoted. It was probably Lilo and Stitch, a pretty close vote. And then the kids were like Lilo and Stitch, and then, you know, it just happened. But
the only thing you need to remember,
I should check it out again.
The only thing you need to remember is Ohana means family. Family means no one gets left behind.
That was so good.
Yeah, that was really good.
I was like, I have an opportunity.
Hiding that. You've been keeping that
where is
from us
this
this entire time. You could have.
I got a few.
There could be a whole segment of Adam's impressions where you do a review as one of your brilliant impressions,
or just a Stitch rather,
or Christopher Walken, or some of the other
I
random
can't do
ones that
Walken,
you're actually
not
really
as
good
well.
I'm in shock right now. That was so good.
I'm glad I could provide
How
some
did you not
entertainment.
do this like in college at some point when we were?
I didn't know
all
I could do it. I didn't try.
hammered?
I mean, I could do Patrick back in college, but who couldn't do Patrick? Patrick Star.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
know, I've been dabbling a little bit more, so we'll see if I can figure something else out. But
So the
remember
last
that.
good to know. The last of my best rewatches I just watched 2 nights ago when I was just, feeling super bored and nothing sounded interesting. I was like, let's just go back to one of the ultimate kind comfort movies and see how this feels on a second viewing. And this is brand new Nate Johnson 5-star movie, Paddington 2.
Oh my God.
I have
Will it
heard
never
that both
end with
Paddington 1
Paddington
and 2
2?
are amazing.
Paddington is great. Paddington 2 is it's perfect. It is, I mean, like for screenwriting and structure, it is like one of the best things I've ever seen. The physical comedy is amazing.
This actually does lead into my best rewatch really well, so I'm glad that this actually is a perfect transition. So,
Okay,
nice.
good.
I like that choice.
And Ben Whishaw voicing Paddington is like maybe the best voice casting choice of all time after like H. John Benjamin as Archer.
Yeah.
And Sally Hawkins and Brendan Gleeson are phenomenal. Brendan Gleeson as the like giant, angry, but like secretly kind-hearted, scary guy in prison.
Yeah.
Is just amazing. And Hugh Grant in this movie is just everything a family movie villain should be.
Okay.
He is so funny and just such an evil person, but he's so charming about it. This movie is hilarious, and it has like everything pays off and matters. Every little thing that you hear about or that you even see over the course of the movie will come back, and some of them with just some of the greatest executed payoffs ever. This movie is amazing, and I rolled my eyes a lot at all the hype for the Paddington movies. And the first one's really good. I have the first one as a 4 out of 5, and
First one's on Netflix. I'm just looking it up right now.
I was very pleasantly surprised that I actually liked the first Paddington that much. And then I watched the second one for the first time with my parents, and we all just absolutely loved it. And then I watched it a second time a couple nights ago, and it's just perfect. It is a phenomenal movie. I bumped it up to 5 stars and now have it as my number. Where are we at? I think 68 movie of all time.
Wow.
Between, because I know you guys like when I do the between.
I love it. I live for it.
Between North by Northwest
like
and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Okay, that's an interesting spot.
Is it ahead of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
It is.
Oh my God.
Uh-oh, we're gonna have to watch this.
Oh my God.
It's great.
So Paddington 1 is on Netflix. Paddington 2 looks like you can just rent. It's not on streaming right now, but
I know it's too good to put out there for free. People will pay. Especially after my glowing review. I bet their sales are going to go way up after this.
God, I hope so.
Adam, I think me and you are going to have to hang out one of these days and just watch it together. I think that's the only way that this can all be worth it. All the Paddington 2 talk on this goddamn podcast.
It's great. I might watch it again tonight.
Oh God, he's going to watch it again next month, and it'll be his best rewatch next month.
It never gets old.
You know, that's the first time it ever occurred to me that one of us could just do that every single month.
Yeah, just continue to watch the same movies over and
kind
over.
of a funny bit.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll wait. I'll
Good
bring
choices.
it back in like August.
July.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Well, that dovetails perfectly into my best rewatch
All
of the
about
month.
dovetailing here.
What?
I'm all about dovetailing.
Exactly. That's when the
Yeah.
podcast is really cooking. So that leads just perfectly into my best rewatch of the month, which was Reservoir Dogs. I mean, because everything that you said about Paddington 2, that's how I feel about Reservoir Dogs.
Honestly, they're both crime movies.
Totally fair.
You
Yeah,
set that up enough times where I was legitimately expecting something kind of similar.
I was expecting animated movie. I don't know why I was
or some type of family movie or something like E.T. I don't know.
Oh man.
But yeah, no, it was just time to revisit one of my favorite movies of all time, and with every viewing, it just gets better and better, in my opinion. Everything is just fits together so well. The script is so tight. The action is great. And just so this doesn't become like a 2-hour episode, because I could talk about this movie for that long, what I just want to focus on this particular time is that I'm going to get a little controversial. I'm just going to let you guys and all of our listeners know that I do think Reservoir Dogs is my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie of all time.
I don't think that's controversial at all.
It has stayed there from the beginning, and I have 4 of his movies that I've given 5 stars, but Reservoir Dogs has always been at the top. And I think the reason is, talked about this a little bit in the past, but it was his first movie and it was made on a shoestring budget. I mean, the actors were wearing their own clothes. He was still working at a video store. The scene when Steve Buscemi steals a car and drives away, they had to do that when it would be a green light because they couldn't pay for traffic cops. And so that's so anti-Tarantino now and everything since.
Oh, yeah.
Because ever since it was whatever he wants to do, free license and all the best actors and the insane budget and just the world is his oyster and he can make. But at this point, for this moment, he actually had something to lose. And there actually was something that he had to prove to himself and to the industry. And it's just, I just think sometimes the first, the debut album of like your favorite band, or I was thinking about trying another analogy today, like Randy Moss's rookie season, like there's just a rush that can't be matched that I get from Reservoir Dogs. Even though I love a lot of his movies. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to focus on, is just, I'm officially stating it. It is my favorite. I'm willing to die on that hill, and I hope that we don't lose viewers because of it. But
honestly, beginning to end, I think it's my favorite movie of his. But for Pulp Fiction, that bit with Travolta and Uma Thurman, just bumps it up. But like the whole, like beginning to end, I think Reservoir Dogs is his best movie. But that bit with Travolta and Uma Thurman is like if that was the entire movie and it was like 40 minutes long, it would be in my top 10 of all time.
Yeah, and I think that his other movies, they definitely have like peaks and valleys, and they have moments that are so brilliant, like the opening scene of Inglourious Bastards, or certain scenes in Django, like the dinner scene. Like they reach these incredibly high peaks, but like you said, Nate, I just feel like from the moment it starts and they're all in the diner, and then it cuts to after the heist and things have gone horribly wrong, it just has me right there, start to finish, no letdowns. And I just had a great time rewatching this, as I always do. So that's the only one I wanted to talk about. It just worked out that you talked about Paddington 2 right beforehand. We don't plan this stuff out, you guys. It might seem that way, but we don't.
Honestly, I kind of think it would be a pretty fun rewatch or double feature.
Oh, that would be a really fun double feature.
Well, which one
do you go first?
How do you want to end the night?
Yeah,
I'd go Reservoir Dogs first, honestly.
You need a palate cleanser.
And then get just killed with kindness.
Yep, the lightheartedness and the charm.
Yeah.
Paddington 2 seems like the embodiment of charm in a film.
It is.
Yeah.
So
it is. It's just the most warm-hearted thing ever created.
All right, on to you,
Adam, your turn.
Yeah. Well, I can't top either of those. But my best rewatches this month, I actually, like I was saying in the first go around best watches, or best new watches, I got to a lot more movies, and partly because I got sick. So I stayed on my couch and watched a few. So what I fell asleep to the last couple nights was the Lego Movie, streaming right now on HBO. I wasn't as obviously blown away by some of the humor because obviously I've watched it a million times. I'm used to it, but it's been a while since I've seen it. It's probably been about a year and a half since I've actually watched it. So some of the humor didn't land as well as I thought it was, but thought it did. But I still really enjoyed the animation. Everything in the Lego movie is a Lego piece, a real Lego piece that comes in some sort of set that you can buy over the course of their history. And like the water was the thing that really stuck out to me as a really cool animation. So everything is buildable. Everything is an actual piece. I really enjoyed that. I mean, that's what's fun about obviously Lego Movie 2 and Lego Batman. Lego Batman just sticks to, a different character. I liked the variety, the bouncing around. Chris Pratt as Emmett. I kind of like came back and went, oh yeah, that's right, that's Chris Pratt. This is when he was really fun and like really launching his career and kind of on the up and up. And it was a lot more fun to be reminded that Chris Pratt was once like a wholesome, interesting guy. Like,
well, he's still wholesome,
sort of. And I mean, there's a couple things that have come out that have been, that's fair, that have come out that have lessened his public appeal, but it's just he's aged obviously with Marvel, and that's a more serious series, and there's a lot more that he's done, I feel, in his recent works since Lego Movie that have made him feel a little bit more mature and grown up. I mean, this is when he was still doing like Parks and Rec. He was Andy, the lovable goof. And this just has a huge cast. I mean, just to name the couple of them: Chris Pratt, Will Ferrell, Will Arnett as Batman, and then Elizabeth Banks as the main love interest, Wild Style. Obviously a ton of other people that I won't mention. But I really had a fun time going back to this. And then the second movie I want to mention is something that I had to watch with subtitles this time. I went back and rewatched Tenet.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, interesting.
So, I was sick when I watched this again, and it was late at night because I had slept all day.
And it made you super nauseous.
So I had a foggy brain, but I did put subtitles on, so I caught everything, and I did have to pause and rewind a few times just to make sure I caught not only what they said, but then contextualize it my own brain and make sure I knew what was going on. I dropped this down from a 4.5 to a 4 on this viewing, but I think it's because I was just kind of tired from watching. It's a 2.5 hour movie. By the end, I was like, okay, I kind of don't care what's going on, and I got lost a little bit along the way, so I might as well just let it finish and see where it goes, see how I feel about it. I think when we talked about it the first time, the ending is a little convenient, which I think is where we kind of landed, and I do feel that way a little bit more so this time.
I thought the ending was convenient, but I also thought the ending, the big battle, was almost disorienting. There was just too much.
Yeah.
There was too much time stuff going on at once where it just kind of lost me. I guess what I was going to ask you, Adam, is do you think from 4.5 to a 4, maybe, do you think the novelty of when you saw it the first time and it being a big Christopher Nolan movie and it being so different, maybe that just wore off? You weren't worried, or did you feel effects wise and everything, you were still blown away?
I was still really wowed by it because I mean I contextualized it by going back and watching Prestige or Inception or to a lesser extent Interstellar, and all of those set pieces or all of those major sequences are still really cool. Just in this one, like you're saying, there's a lot of time jump stuff happening in the final big battle, whatever, and you have to go, oh yeah, that's when this was happening, which is where they were at this point, which was when you just have to think 6 layers every time you see a time event, and and then it's hard to keep up with what's going on because it's so fast. So that's probably my biggest disappointment this time, is I couldn't really keep it straight. But again, sleepy, whatever. It's also 2.5 hours. But I did like it, and I will watch it again. And it's something that I think rewards you each time you watch it, because there is stuff that I remembered. There is stuff that I went, oh, yeah, this is going to happen. I also completely forgot that our favorite Robert Pattinson from this podcast is in and does a fantastic job in that movie.
Hell yeah, he does.
All the focus is on John David Washington, and he does a great job. But our co-star, Robert Pattinson, is always along for the ride, always just churning through, and he's great in this movie. He never misses a beat.
That's because our Pats is the man.
Exactly. I just completely forgot he was in an action an action movie of this caliber, it should have set up Batman perfectly for it being like, yeah, he can absolutely do all this. So, I really enjoyed it. It's a 4 this time around, but it could go back up to a 4.5 if I watch it again. I'll probably watch it in 6 months instead of a full year, just to see how it, how it fits. But those are my best 2 rewatches.
Nice. All right, on to the duds of the month.
Yeah, we usually end up talking a little bit less about these than the ones we're glowing about, but occasionally there's something controversial that might
sometimes
cause us, to talk about these a little longer. I've got 2.
Okay.
The first one is a new 2022 movie with Ben Affleck and Ana de Armas, Deep Water.
Oh, yes.
Which is on Hulu right now. I gave this a 1.5. It is really bad.
Okay.
It also, though, given like the subject of the movie, it could fit into that like so bad it's good setting. If you like,
what's it about?
I don't even know.
I've got the synopsis up.
I do know actually. It's not a confusing movie. Go ahead, Adam.
When I almost watched it, I saw how long it was, and I was like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
A well-to-do husband who allows his wife to have affairs in order to avoid a divorce becomes a prime suspect in the disappearance of her lovers. Well, I mean, with the Oscars having just happened, I'll leave it at that. I'm trying to keep that name out of my mouth.
Basically, Ana de Armas, just the arrangement is like he lets her sleep around so that they don't have to get a divorce. And then eventually he just kind of decides he doesn't like it anymore and like maybe starts murdering the guys that she's cheating on him with. And then the kind of twist is like maybe that's kind of a turn on for her. But there's not nearly as much of that as you'd think. Like it's kind of like meanders along and is just the same thing for a really long time. And they like never really explain what their marital issues are. And for some reason, they have a daughter, and for some reason she's kind of in this movie a lot, despite like not having anything to do with anything. I don't know. It's just it's really bad.
Okay.
But I could see like getting wine drunk and kind of having a fun time watching this.
Okay.
Guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
It's trashy in a potentially fun way.
It does kind of sound like the end season of You. My girlfriend watched that show, and that's kind of how she described the final season, as there's a lot of sleeping around going on and stalking and tracking and then murder. So
yeah, it sounds pretty similar. But yeah, Deep Water, really bad.
Okay.
Don't waste your time unless that sounds interesting to you. And then the other one I watched last night as part of my sort of great 50s movies to watch project. And that is Sweet Smell of Success, which I was really looking forward to. It's got glowing reviews. It's got like a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes and an average score of 4.2 out of 5 on Letterboxd, which anything over a 4 on Letterboxd is like way up there.
Yeah.
And this movie is New York City newspaper writer J.J. Hunsaker holds considerable sway over public opinion and with his Broadway column. But one thing that he can't control is his younger sister, Susan, who's in a relationship with an aspiring jazz guitarist, Steve Dallas.
Those damn jazz musicians.
Hunsaker strongly disapproves of the romance and recruits publicist Sidney Falco, great name, to find a way to split the couple, no matter how ruthless the method. And Burt Lancaster plays J.J. Hunsaker, and Tony Curtis plays Sidney Falco. And it's got really snappy dialogue and really good performances, but the characters are so one-dimensional. It never explains why he doesn't want his sister to marry this guy, like at all. It doesn't even attempt to and do it poorly. It's just there. And there are also some scenes where, because this isn't explained, it kind of seems like maybe he wants to marry his sister.
Weird.
I was like, is that what like, I don't know. I don't know. I really don't get the hype around this movie. Like, it's just kind of like they're bad because they're gossip columnists. And I'm like, yeah, but like, what does that have to do with him not wanting his sister to get married?
Yeah.
Like, it's just sort of, I don't know. I found this very disappointing. I gave it a 2.5 because it does have it has good performances and it has some great like one-liners.
Okay.
But and it moves pretty well. But after a while, I was just like, I don't care about, like, I don't even understand why these people want what we're told that they want. Like, they don't give us a reason for anything.
It's an hour and a half long too, so that's kind of surprising that they can't. They don't have that much time to tell their story, and they don't give you the details.
Yeah, I had to pause it like 2 or 3 times just because it was a
Not a
struggle
good
to
sign.
get through. Yeah, it was,
Jeez.
you know, one of those leaving Criterion at the end of the month
Mhm.
movies, and it was on my list, so I watched it, and just disappointing.
Yeah, that's why I watched The Killing, because it was leaving at the end of the month. I was like,
Yep.
it's now or never.
I've
Mhm.
kind of made a joke about, like, if somebody wants to get me to, like, never watch a movie, just make sure that I own it.
Yeah.
Because
Seriously.
all of what I watch is like new stuff that's just coming out that I want to be like keeping up with, you know, and then
Mhm.
rewatches and stuff on like Netflix or Criterion or HBO Max that says like last chance.
Yep.
But if there's
Yeah,
a
they
movie,
get you.
but if
Especially Criterion.
Going in the
especially
vault.
Criterion, because
Going in the
those,
Disney
some of
vault.
those you can't even rent.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Those are movies, like old movies that will just like disappear forever potentially. But
Yeah.
and then there are a lot of times on Vudu, if I'm like, well, I'd rent this for $4 and it's on sale for $5, so like I'll just buy it now. And then it like,
but I'll
and
watch
then
it tomorrow.
but I'm like, oh, I can watch this anytime now, so I guess that means never. So yeah,
I'm sure we're
That's
not the
funny.
only ones who do that.
no, I would guess a lot of people fall into that
No.
trap. But I've
And-
noticed that a lot recently. Like these movies that have been towards the top of my watch list forever, I finally own them, and then like 8 months later, I still haven't watched it.
Yeah. Well, it's like Matchstick Men that you brought up at the beginning of the episode.
Definitely. Although I wasn't excited to watch that movie ever.
Okay. True. It was
Like if I
always
saw that was
there.
leaving
You own
Prime
this
like
now.
a year ago, I would not have cared.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right.
On to you.
I just have one dud of the month, and that is also a newer movie and from 2021, The Kingsman.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And it's just classic style over substance.
Yep.
Mhm.
Like it's so stylish, but it's so hollow, and I wasn't even really enjoying the style. And like most of what they show you in the trailer happens in like the first 30 minutes, 35 minutes.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And honestly, like I did fall asleep before the end, and I don't think it was because I was tired. I think it was a self-defense mechanism of my brain being like, no, don't let any more of this in. Like, shut it down. Like I just passed out. It was like 9:30 at night. But
Your body's
yeah.
just like, enough of this.
Enough, can't do it. I'm sorry, you know, I love Ralph Fiennes, and you know, I get what they were trying to do, and I bet like 12-year-old me might have thought that there was some redeeming qualities, but honestly, I was so over it. Like after like the first half hour, I gave it a shot. Did not live up to it at all. I think I might have given it a 1.5 or maybe a 2, but I should probably drop that to a 1.5 after talking about it with you guys. So that's my dud of the month.
It's funny. I watched that too, and I thought the weirdest part was the Ralph Fiennes casting. He's somehow
He's
too
a little out of
old.
place.
They make
He's
him
too serious, or he's too like a genuinely good actor.
to play like an action idiot. Like he's
to be in this like stupid stylish thing.
Okay.
I ended
Too
up
bad.
liking it a little bit more. I mean, I gave it like a 3 because it's not good, but it's like fun. You know.
Did you
it's
see it in theaters?
No. Thank God, no.
Okay.
I watched it at home with Nicolette. And it was fine. It was fun. It was like, okay, well, we wanted to watch. It was better than the second one. I'll tell you that. I turned the second one off after I think 25 minutes. Couldn't handle it.
I've still only
So
seen
bad.
the first one.
The first one's fantastic.
Yeah, that one has redeeming qualities. I think.
Yeah, it's at least watchable.
Yeah.
Wait, how many of these are there?
3.
3
Oh
now.
my God.
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought Dylan was talking about the first one the whole time.
No. That's
No.
Kingsman Secret Service, which is
excuse me.
not. I was going
My
to say Taron
mistake.
Egerton. Is it? It's not Taron Egerton. It's.
I think he's in one of those.
Then it is him.
Yeah.
With Colin
Firth.
On Firth. And then the second one has like the Americans in it, and it's like Channing Tatum plays Kingsman from like Texas or something, and it's
Sure.
awful. Just truly miserable, terrible filmmaking. So
Go on. No, so that's my only bet of the month. Definitely the low point was The Kingsman.
Okay.
So on to you, Adam.
Yeah, my dud of the month is more just of a disappointment because I still gave it a decent score. I gave it a 3.5, but this is Nightmare Alley. I was unimpressed by the twist and the overall storyline in this movie, but everything else looked fantastic. All the acting was fantastic. All the set pieces were great. All the clothes and stuff was awesome, but it just didn't live up to it for me.
I think that's fair. I mean, I think the story's the weakest part, and it's pretty telegraphed to where it's going. But like, I like the first half of that movie a lot more because it just felt so fun to live in.
Yes.
To where even if I felt like I knew where it was going, I was just like, this is still just cool and fun, and like, look at all these crazy people.
Yeah.
100%.
I liked, for me, the high point was when he leaves the carnival and tries to go off on his own just because the stakes keep getting escalated and like you kind of see it coming, but just to see him go from where he started to just super slick, confident, in the zone, like commanding the attention of an entire room. Like I liked that, but I agree that the ending of it, how it all wraps up is very telegraphed and not necessarily as big a twist or anything as maybe
it just fell short of its hype. I mean, it got nominated for Best Picture, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be good, and it just was like, it was all right.
Yeah. I mean, so, I think Del Toro made it, and it's technically brilliant.
Yes.
So,
and there are great performances. Like the actors were cast, and they have interesting characters, so they got a lot to work with.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, there's lots of love here. That's the part. That's why I gave it a 3.5 because like there's so much going on that everybody does great. Like David Strait there and Ron Perlman is in it a little bit, does a great job. Willem Dafoe, Bradley Cooper's obviously awesome. Toni Collette's fantastic, and Kate Blanchett is always creepy now, and she's fantastic.
And Richard
Jenkins and Rooney Mara.
Yes.
Yep. So there's a lot to love. It's just the story is the weakest part, and that's what I thought. That's what shocked me the most for being a Oscar Best Picture nominee, it just not being very good in that regard. So that was my dud.
Well, they nominated Don't Look Up too. So
which I thought was a waste.
Fitting.
We don't have to open that argument again. Let's move on to the miscellaneous section.
Maybe we should have tried slapping meteors out of the way.
I just wanted to bring up one movie that I watched because I think it's the oldest movie I've ever seen. That is the German thriller M from 1931.
Okay.
I thought Dylan might have heard of it.
I've heard of it.
Yeah. It's a serial killer movie where a dude is just like murdering little girls. And this was made in 1931.
Jeez.
And it's just under 2 hours. So it needed to be shorter, just given like what's happening. There's a lot of like expository dialogue, like a lot of it. But the fascinating thing that ends up happening is that after the police just like can't find the guy and they're getting a lot of pressure to just like do something and find him and make everybody feel safe again, they just start squeezing organized crime like as hard as possible. And so then the organized crime bosses decide that this is cutting into their profit margins a little bit too much. So they decide to try to find the killer.
Okay.
And the mob enlists like an army of like beggars and homeless people to just like a network of them like around the city to try to just like keep an eye on everything.
Really? Okay.
Very like Sherlock Holmes style.
Interesting.
And so like the police are trying to find him, and then like the mob is trying to find him, and it's got some good social commentary on like, oh, nobody really cared until like it affected the bottom line. Like, killing like 12 girls or however many it is in the movie like isn't enough. Now that you're not making money, it's like, okay, we got to stop this guy. And it's got a very memorable ending. But just how old it was, I mean, I gave it a 3.5. It's very well done, but like anything that old, there are going to be elements of it for me where I just kind of it loses my attention at times. But
elements that don't hold up 90 years later.
Strange.
But there are some that do, which is cool.
That's cool. That is cool.
But I just wanted to bring that one up because I actually do not think I've ever seen an older movie.
Interesting. I think that's pretty far back for me too. I know that we've talked about that movie, The Phantom Carriage.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet though. That's from like 1927 or something.
Yeah, we should get together and watch that maybe as a podcast.
Yeah.
All right, on to me then.
Yep.
All right, I just have two quick ones. The first one is actually a documentary. It was nominated for Oscar for Best Short Documentary Feature, and that is Audible. It's the one all about the Maryland School for the Deaf football team.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And
okay.
It follows one kid in particular, but it sprawls off into all different directions. You meet a bunch of the kids on the team, not on the team. They talk about, obviously like deafness and football, but also just like coming of age stuff, interfamily relationships, grief because one of their friends passed away the year before. So it talks to the students about how they feel about that. And really the only problem with it is that it tries to pack all of that into like 38 minutes.
Oh, okay.
It definitely could have been a feature-length documentary.
Wow.
Like 100%. Like the kids were interesting enough. The concept is interesting enough. Like it starts with like their first game of the season. And then it's like 20 minutes later, they're getting ready for the last game of the season. And like, I don't know, like there's a lot that goes on over the course of those months in a high schooler's life. Like they could have slowed it down, kind of zoomed in on a few people, and it could have really been perfection. But as it is, I mean, it's a well put together 40 minutes, and it is a definitely intriguing story. I would recommend checking it out. But just the fact they tried to pack too much in there, I gave it a 4 out of 5. I think it could have been higher, but still really interesting story. And then the last one is Fresh, the new 2022 movie. I believe it's on Hulu.
It is on Hulu. I still need to get to this.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, so I definitely think it's best to go in completely blind. So I will not say anything related to the plot. The reason I wanted to bring it up specifically was it was pretty good, 3.5. But the director and the main and the lead actor here. So it's directed by Mimi Cave, who I guess used to do music videos, and then she had a big breakout kind of indie movie at South by Southwest in 2020, and this is her first feature film, and it's about just the plot, if you haven't heard of it, the horrors of modern dating seen through one young woman's defiant battle to survive her new boyfriend's unusual appetites. It's a comedy horror thriller, and it's just very stylish in a good way. The colors and the camera work. I was very it's bold. It's very bold. There's a lot of the music choices and kind of the montages. Like I would be very intrigued to see where Mimi Cave goes from here with this being her first movie. I was pretty impressed. And then Daisy Edgar Jones plays the lead alongside Sebastian Stan, and she is going to be a star.
She was in Normal People, wasn't she?
I'm looking right now.
I think she was in the Hulu series Normal People, based on the very popular Sally Rooney novel. She's an Irish, I think, writer, like one of the most famous millennial authors.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
She's also going to be in Where the Crawdads Sing later this year. So
nice. I'm looking forward to that because David Strathairn is in it, and anything he is in, I will watch.
And is that directed by Olivia Colman?
What?
Let me look.
You thought it was directed by Reese Witherspoon.
Olivia Newman.
Newman. That's
okay.
It.
So I take back the Reese Witherspoon thing because it is Olivia something.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, no, I think she's gonna kill it in that. I think she has the makings of a star. Like whenever she's on screen, she's captivating. She can act like goddamn, and she held her own alongside Sebastian Stan, who's been around forever. It seems like. I mean, does that guy age? Like, I don't know.
Nope.
So, and he was having fun with it too.
Same club as Paul Rudd.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. He's hamming it up, and he's having fun with the role, but it's still entertaining. Definitely some stuff at the end that loses me a little bit, but I just think just for the director and the lead actor, it's worth checking out. And it's a fun, it's a comedy horror thriller. That can be a pretty fun genre if you do it right. So that was the last one that I wanted to talk about.
Nice.
Okay. I'll shoot through mine pretty quick. The first one I want to talk about is not a movie. It was a stand-up special. It's a stand-up special that my girlfriend and I went to go see here in Minneapolis when she was touring. This is Taylor Tomlinson's "Look at You." Absolutely stellar, fantastic. Probably the most popular female millennial comedian, female or millennial comedian right now. She's absolutely killing it.
This is on Netflix, right? You're not.
This is on Netflix. Yeah.
You're not just reviewing the live show.
No. I mean, the show we saw was this one. Yeah, the show we saw was this one, but that's why I brought it up. So a lot of the jokes were memorable. There's obviously some things that were different between the show that I saw and what was on the Netflix special. It talks about depression and therapy and navigating love life, and she's super funny. I highly recommend you check it out. If any of that stuff rings a bell to you, even just comedy in general is interesting. She's on the up and up. She's one of the best comedians, or one of the most popular comedians at this time. Definitely think you should check her out. The next one I watched, the next one I want to talk about is the original Blade Runner. It's on HBO right now. Yeah,
you finally watched this?
The final cut. So with never before seen footage and stuff, which obviously I didn't know because I'd never seen it before.
Okay, what'd you think?
I was sort of underwhelmed because I was expecting a little bit more like Blade Runner 2049, where it's a 2.5 hour epic, and there's so much that harkens back to the old one, and there's just a lot of mysterious stuff, and it's a little bit more modern and actiony. This one doesn't have as much detail as I thought there'd be. Like, I thought there'd be more of a love story between Rachel and Deckard, and there's there is, but it's so understated. Like, you get an initial scene where they meet, then back to the apartment, and then towards the end there's not a whole lot in the middle where he's chasing the other androids. And I wasn't really expecting that, and the androids have more of a drive. They caught me off guard. I didn't know how to view that.
Interesting.
Well, I think it helps explain kind of the urgency of the issues in Blade Runner 2049.
Yes,
because there aren't as many then. So if you hadn't seen Blade Runner before, I feel like there could be a little bit of why are they taking this so seriously?
Yeah. Well, and I didn't put it together, or at least I wasn't thinking about it as much. At the beginning of this movie, there's the 4 or 5 androids that take over a ship and head back to Earth to find their maker, kill the Tyrell guy. So it's very that is their mission. They're coming to kill people, as opposed to just being they're in hiding. Like in the first android you meet in 2049, he's just farming and trying to keep a low profile and all that stuff. So I was expecting maybe just a little bit different, but obviously super stylized, which is where this movie gets all of its credit from. And I can definitely see why it's so highly regarded, especially for the day and age it was made. So I think
the world building is definitely good. I think what me and Nate have talked about is that world that they build is very grimy and dark, and I didn't necessarily enjoy my
time spent there
being there. It was impeccably crafted.
Yes,
but
now where the influence for all the rain in the Batman comes from.
Yes. I was why is everything wet? Every single piece of everything is wet.
And so dark. Everything is so dark in that movie. But,
and for Harrison Ford being such a star at the time, I was expecting this to be a lot more actiony, or just expecting him to
more
be
of a movie star vehicle.
Yeah, more of a he would be a more capable hero, and he's really he gets his ass kicked constantly in this movie. He's never figuring it out and on top of the game. He's always chasing somebody down or getting punched when he didn't see it coming, and the gun goes flying and he's got to scramble away, right? Even the end, when he's about to fall and he gets picked up, he's about to die. So
I think that ending monologue by Rutger Hauer is definitely one of the high points of the movie. I think they nailed the ending.
For sure. The themes all come across. It's just the story is a little I was expecting maybe more detail, or to move further from A to B, cover more ground.
So what did you give it?
I gave it a 3.5.
Okay.
Nice. And that's first viewing. I'm sure I'll watch it again, maybe in a couple months, and see how it goes. And I know that 2049 is just got put on HBO again, so maybe I watch it in a month or two.
Next time you watch 2049, you might pick up on little things, because there's definitely little Easter eggs.
Well, the one major one I noticed is when they talk about he wants to give Rachel, or the new Android versions, memories, which is the entire point of 2049.
True. It plays a
I was
huge,
that
huge role.
Now that makes sense. Yeah. Or why that's such an important piece now. So that's that. And then the other one I watched, I I watched twice. Actually, I went to theaters. This is something Nate's talked to me about on this podcast about watching. I watched The Worst Person in the World.
Yeah,
I
still need to get to that one.
fucking loved it. It is.
So
you're
good.
right. It's right up my alley. I think anybody who's our age, whether you're single, taken, married, have kids, whatever step you're at, if you're around 25 to 35 years old, you need to watch this movie.
I really think this is like one of the defining like millennial experience
100%
movies.
100%. It's perfect in nearly every way. I brought my girlfriend to this and she got mad at me. She wouldn't speak to me in the car ride home because obviously this hits very personally, and it hit me very personally, but I saw it like 5 days earlier, and then I brought her to it and she was like, you didn't tell me what it was about. Like, I didn't know I was gonna have an existential crisis on the way home from this movie. Like, why didn't you tell me?
That might have been a tactical mistake on your part there, Adam. Maybe
so here's the thing.
Maybe you might have asked us, like, hey, do you think it's a good idea for me to bring Nicolette to this movie that's all about a woman who can't commit to, doesn't know what she wants to do with her life? Like,
I mean, I thought it fit everybody. I didn't think it. With it. Yeah. Well, I say that because like the last time I went to a movie alone, I asked her to come with me. She said no. I went to Come On, which was like my number 2 favorite movie of last year. And so then I went to this, and she said, "Oh, I don't want to go on like Sunday," and we went to it on like a Friday, and she finally went to the one that I was like, "This was one of the best movies I saw last year," and she got pissed. So I don't know what I'm doing, but not doing it right. I loved it. I gave it a 4.5. I think everybody needs to see it. If you can find it on Prime or rent it anywhere, do it. Take the time. Take a Tuesday evening or something. Make sure you got nothing else going on and really sink into it.
Yeah, as soon as it's available somewhere, I'll definitely be watching it.
You can rent it now.
On what?
Can you?
Like probably Prime.
Oh, really?
I mean, it's on Vudu right now to be rented. I only checked that because that's where I got my account. But Adam, would it be in your top 5 for 2021 movies?
Oh, for sure. I want to put it. I mean, right now, I think I know I ranked 9 Days first, and then I went Come On, and then I don't remember what I had as number 3. I honestly think all 3 of these 9 Days, Come On, and Worst Person in the World are rotations for top spot.
Whichever one you watched last.
Exactly. They're all fantastic movies, and I think this one hits very, very personally. And I think most people are going to feel that way when they watch it, which is the mark of a fantastic movie. Yeah,
I agree.
So
perfect. Those are mine. Well, that's a good note to end on. A good roundup as always. Some fun discoveries and some controversy stirring the pot. We're just gonna have to watch Paddington 2 before Nate ends up putting a tattoo of it on his back.
Do we need to watch 1 before we watch 2?
It's not much of a chore. The first one is great.
I wasn't asking if it was a chore. It's just, is it going to make sense?
Endure the first one to get to the second one.
What was
that?
Watch
1 alone, then we'll get together to watch 2.
I mean, there's some things like you don't like need to, but there's some things that you're just going to appreciate more if you've seen them.
And that's what I mean. So
yeah,
I'll do some homework. I'll watch 1, then we'll get together and watch 2.
Just like, some of the character relationships that have been established in the second one, I think they'll hold a little more weight if you've got the backstory from the first movie.
Okay.
All right. Well, whose turn is it to put a wrap on the show?
It is mine.
All right. Take it away, Nate.
If we're kind and polite, the world will be right.